Hi guys, I'm here today to do a readathon TBR. Now there's been so many readathons. I think July and August are like so readathon heavy. However, I'm not a big fan of week-long readathons, so there are a couple in August that I really love the sound of, but I find week-long readathons quite restrictive, and also I'm not great at sticking to a strict TBR and I feel a lot of pressure from it. So I much prefer month-long ones where there's much more movement and flexibility. And I participated a few months ago in the OWL readathon, which was to gain your owls from Hogwarts, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I managed to get 8 OWLs, and so now the host, whose channel is called Book Roast, which I'll link down below, has announced that there is going to be the N.E.W.T.s Readathon in August. Now I'm going to link her videos down below, but the basic premise is that you can study for the N.E.W.T.s in the subjects that you gained owls in. So officially, like, if you didn't do the owls, then you should do the owls in your own time and then do the N.E.W.T.s. But you know, if you want to just join because you like the challenges, I don't really think it matters. And how the N.E.W.T.s work is that rather than having one reading prompt per subject, which is how it was for the OWLs, you have 3. And you have to do them in order, because the first prompt gets you the grade acceptable, the second gets you the grade exceeds expectations, and the third gets you the grade outstanding. So I have loads of books here. Now I'm planning to read loads in August because there's so many books I'm excited about. I want to read them all. There's quite a lot of audiobooks I want to listen to. I just really got back into reading. However, you know, I'm not promising I'm going to read all these, and as I said, I like flexibility, but a good portion of these books I'll probably get to, and I also thought it'd be an interesting way to show you guys lots of books I've hauled, because I don't do hauls anymore, but loads of the books I want to get to are really new releases, so yeah. Now, one thing I will say in general about readathons, other than non-fiction in November, I always find that lots of the prompts are more aimed at fiction. So there's not a lot of non-fiction I'm going to show you, there might even just be one, but I will try and read more non-fiction than this. It's just they didn't really fit around the prompts as well. So yeah, I will try throughout the month to see if I can read some extra or force them into prompts. We shall see. So basically, I have a stack of books here, and I'm just going to go through them and I'll tell you what prompts they will fit into. So the first subject that I'm going to try and study is ancient ruins, and I have a book that hits all 3 of the targets. So to get an acceptable, you have to read a book that's set in the past. So I've picked Warlight by Michael Ondaatje. I've never read any of his books, and to be honest I wasn't really planning to, but it was longlisted for the Man Booker and I quite like the look of the long list, and so I requested this book. I'm not going to read them all because a few of them just I don't like the sound of, but this was one actually when I read the blurb I was like, oh, I quite like the sound of that one. It's surprisingly short, which is always good for a readathon. So yeah, this is set in the 1940s, and it's about 2 children who are orphaned and get raised by criminals, and what happens there. So yeah, there's that one. Sounds a little bit like Oliver Twist, but we shall see. And then for Exceeds Expectations, the challenge is one of your most ancient unread books. I've got loads of books I've owned for many years, but one that I have been wanting to pick up recently is The Panopticon by Jenny Fagan. This is about a young Scottish girl who is in the foster care system, and the book opens with her being sent to I think a special facility for quite difficult foster children. And I love books about young girls, and I've read her other book, The Sunlight Pilgrims, and really enjoyed it, so I've been meaning to get to this one for years. And to get an outstanding in ancient ruins, you have to read a translated book. Now I have loads and loads of translated books that I haven't got to, but the one that is probably the most embarrassing is The Vegetarian by Han Kang, translated by Deborah Smith. So I know loads of people love this, and I know so many people have told me they think I will adore it, so I just need to get to it, and this is as good an excuse as any. So I'll also link all the prompts and stuff down below so you guys can remember much more easily than just trying to listen to me ramble away. So the next one is Arithmancy, and the first book is to read a book that's at least 300 pages. And I heard Lauren and Simon talking about this book recently, so I requested it, and I'm going to jump in on their buddy read. This is The Future Popes of Ireland by Darren Martin. This sounds like it could be like a really good family drama. I love family dramas that are quite quiet and warming, and this sounds like it could be that. This could fit a couple of prompts, but I really wanted to read it at the start of the month, So I made it fit this prompt. It is over 300 pages, it's over 400 pages, so it works. And this is a very new release. I don't know if it's out yet, but I think it will be out in a couple of weeks. So there's that one. So this is set in Ireland, and it's about a grandmother who's raising her 4 grandchildren, and she's determined that one of them will become the first Irish Pope. So there's that one. And then the next one is a book that ends on an even number. So again, this is a book I was determined to read. I treated myself to this a couple of weeks ago, so I just had to find a prompt that it would fit, and that is There by Tommy Orange. I'm sure you've heard people talk about this. This is getting a lot of hype, especially in the US. So this is about a Native American who lives in California, and it is told through lots of interconnected short stories. I think there's quite a lot of characters, and it's building up to them all going, I think it says, yes, there's a big Oakland powwow, and the novel is building up to some crescendo that happens there. I've heard amazing things about it, and it sounds like the sort of book that I would adore, so I've got really high hopes for this one, so we will see. And then the third prompt for this one, which I don't think I'll do, is the first book in a series. I don't really have many books that are the first in a series. I have got a few that are the second, and the only one I have that's the first is freaking massive, and I don't feel particularly inclined to read it this month, so yeah. So I may only manage to get Exceeds Expectations in arithmancy, which is fine, absolutely fine. So for Care of Magical Creatures, which would be the one that I would, in terms of subject, would be the one that I would 100% want to study, we have these next 3. Yes, these next 3. So I'm going to try and get outstanding in this subject. So for acceptable, there has to be an animal on the cover. This is a line made by Walking by Sarah Baum. So this was in my 5-star TBR predictions. I've wanted to read it since it came out last year, thought I would adore it, but then I was going for a bit of a weird mental health space time, and I've had some difficult things happen, and I have the feeling that this book's going to be a bit depressing and also perhaps hit home a little bit, so I've been avoiding it. I feel much more positive this month, and the other day, you know, reached for it and thought I really want to read that soon, so this is a good reason to read it, because there's quite a few animals on the cover, and there's also quite a few animals in pictures inside, dead ones, not very nice, but yeah, lots of animals. And then we have a book that's under 160 pages, and I have Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. This comes out in September. This is one of my most anticipated books of the year. Quite sad that it's so little, it's about 140 pages, but I think I'm going to adore this, and so I just had to put it on this TBR. This is about a young girl and her parents who are living in a hut in Northumberland as an exercise in experimental archaeology, and I think there might be some weird dark stuff that happens whilst they're there, so intrigued by this one. And then the last one is to read a book that includes dragons. Really hard for me, I'm not a big fan of dragons. I like fantasy books, but for whatever reason dragons never draws me in. However, I'm currently reading Traitor's Moon by Lynn Llewellyn, which is the 3rd book in the Night Runner series. I've had this put down for about 3 weeks because, to be honest, it's nowhere near as good as the first 2. However, I have heard from the lovely Chris, from Chris's Book is Cauldron, that he thought that this was the weakest book out of the 7, but that it does pick up halfway through. I'm not yet halfway through, so it has dragons in it. So I'm going to cheat on this one. It's a book I've already begun, however there is like over 300 pages left for me to read, so I think it still counts, so there's that one. So the next subject is charms. So the first prompt is to read a book with magic in. Now I cheated, okay? I probably do have quite a few books that have magic in, but I really wanted to read this book soon, and it's the only prompt that it would sort of fit for, that was one of the first prompts. So books I want to read really soon I've chosen as the acceptable subject, so that they're the first books I read, because you have to, as I said, read them in order. You don't have to read subjects in order, but you can't, for example, read the book that's outstanding for potions without having already got the book that's for acceptable and exceeds expectations. So I don't really know if this is magical. It's sort of dystopian, but I'm cheating. I'm not above cheating in my exams, so I'm going to use this one. So this is the Book of M by Peng Shepherd. As I said, this is another recent release that I really want to get to, and this is set in a world where people start to lose their shadows, and when they lose their shadows they start to lose their memories, and this follows a married couple as the wife starts to lose her shadow, and so she sort of runs away and her husband is following her. But I think from what I've heard there's also some other weird stuff going on to the animals. It's probably not magical, but I'm going to cheat. The cover's magical, the M could stand for magic. this is my book for magic. There's that one. Then the next one is a cover that charmed you. I don't ever buy books just for the cover, but I am very drawn to books by their cover and massively swayed by it. And I was contacted by the publishers about this one, and one of the reasons I paused to actually read the email was the beautiful cover. And that is Improvement by Joan. This is absolutely stunning. This is published by Counterpoint. And this is also, I think, I'm reading a book at the moment about prisons. I think this is about a woman who has to leave her children with her aunt because she is sent to prison for a cigarette smuggling scheme. It says a novel that examines conviction, connection and the possibility of generosity in the face of loss. And it does just have a completely beautiful cover. I think this is a Turkish rug, it says on the back. So yeah, very intrigued by this one, and I've meant to read this for the last few months. So there's that one. And then the next one is a book that leaves a mark. Now, I could have chosen any of my non-fiction books for this, to be honest, because that's why I read non-fiction. But one that I really want to get to and I think will leave a mark in particular is Know Your Place, Essays on the Working Class, edited by Nathan Connolly. I've really been wanting to read this since it came out, and I've owned it for a couple of months now. And I think I'm going to really enjoy this, and I'm very excited to hear all the different voices and perspectives on what it's like to be working class in the UK. And yeah, you know, I really think this one will leave a big mark, so there's that one. Then for herbology, which is another subject that I would 100% want to study if I was at Hogwarts, the first one is a book with a green cover, and I've chosen West by Karis Davies. I really like the sound of this book, but I thought I'm going to wait and hear what everyone else has to say about it, and I haven't heard a single negative thing. So now I am very, very intrigued to get to it, so there's that one. Then we have a book that has illustrations in it, and I have The Fairytale Museum by Susannah M. Smith. I was kindly sent this by the publisher, and they're called Invisible Publishing. I loved her other book, which is How the Blessed Live, and they contacted me because they knew how much I enjoyed that one. This one sounds weirder. It's sort of set out more like poetry, and it has lots of weird illustrations. It says, The Fairytale Museum is an alchemical curiosity cabinet as novel that showcases the original, spectacular, grotesque, endearing and otherworldly. Yeah, it's going to be quite weird. I hope I enjoy it, you know, near as much as I enjoyed her previous book, so there we go. And then we have a book that has any of these words in the title: light, air, sun, water. So I have The Water Cure by Sophie McIntosh, another book that's on the Man Booker long list. A book that I was intrigued by and not 100% of I wanted to pick up, but when I saw it on the long list I thought I may as well give it a go. So this is a dystopian which is set on an island where there are no men. I think that's the premise, so there's that one. And then there's a few of these challenges that I couldn't find definite prompts for at the moment, however I may be able to find more as we go. So I'd really like to study history of magic, because if I was actually at Hogwarts I'd 100% study it. But the only book I have for definite is the book for Acceptable, which is a book that would fit in at Hogwarts Library, and I'm going to be listening to the Deathly Hallows on audiobook. I feel like that would fit in because I feel like they would put the book about what happened in the, you know, Great War at Hogwarts in their library, so I think that would be there. But the next two prompts are a book that's published at least 5 years ago and then a book that's at least 400 pages. I think I can easily manage those two prompts, but there was nothing that was jumping out at me and I felt like I'd chosen quite enough already. But if I do manage to be some sort of reading maniac, then I may fill those ones as well. And then the next two I have for potions. For Acceptable, it's a book with a colour in the title, and I have Ultraviolet. I was sent this as an advanced reading copy. This is by Susannah Matson and it's published by Catapult in the US. It comes out in September, and I was sent this quite a few months ago, but I try not to read things too much before their release. And this is centred on 3 women throughout, like since the 1930s until now, and lead very, very different lives. One lives in India, then one lives in, I think, Oregon, and then one lives in Boston, and it's about their connections to one another. I love novels like this and I adore that cover, so that gets points just for that alone. And then a book with a male lead character, and I don't often read books with male lead characters, but I've had this proof copy for a while. The finished cover doesn't look like this, so I'll put a picture of the actual finished cover here. But this is Underwater Breathing by Cassandra Parkin. This came out in May. And this is about a young boy who lives with his father because his mother and sister abandoned them in an Edwardian seaside house that is on the edge of Yorkshire's gradually crumbling mud cliffs. And then years later, Jacob is trying to find out the mystery of where his mother and sister went. I feel like I could really enjoy this. I haven't read any of her books, but I think she could be an author who I really enjoy, so I want to try and get to this one. And then if I wanted Outstanding in Potions, it's a book over 350 pages, which again is relatively easy. Like a lot of books I own are over 350 pages, but I thought I wouldn't fill that one for now and leave myself space to manoeuvre. So yeah, I'll link all those books down below. There was a lot, and as I said, I am not going to be super strict. If I want to use a book for a different challenge, that's fine, but these are a collection of books that I really am interested in reading quite soon, and would fit the challenges for the N.E.W.T.s. So let me know if you're participating. If you like the sound of this readathon, there's obviously still time to join in. And I'm thinking about possibly doing weekly vlogs. Now I always say this and I don't, because I only have a big DSLR camera, which is quite difficult to vlog with, and I'm always quite sort of anxious and insecure about putting videos up of myself without makeup on, which is really lame. And usually in the evenings after work I don't have makeup on because I'm like, get this off as soon as I get home. So I might try and force myself to stop being so silly and insecure and just do it. We shall see. So I think it could be quite fun to sort of let you guys know how I'm doing as I go along. And I feel bad because I really enjoy watching other people's vlogs, and then I say I'll do them and then I delete the footage and never do them. So yeah. Wish me luck with that, and wish me luck with all these books. There's a crazy amount, so we shall see how I do. So good luck if you're participating, or if you're participating in any of the other many readathons that are going on in August, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!